You don't start with guns. You start with a favor. Your uncle runs a small import business in Karachi, hardware, machine parts, shipping containers that come in from Dubai and go out to clients across the region. You help him with paperwork for 3 years, customs declarations, bill of lading documents, HS codes. You learn which numbers inspectors check and which ones they skip. That knowledge is worth more than you realize. One evening, your uncle's business partner, a man named Hyder, asks you a question, casual, over tea. If a shipment needed different paperwork, not fake, just reclassified, could you do that? You ask what's inside. He smiles. Drilling equipment. You do it. You reclassify a container of rifle components as industrial drilling machinery. You change 4 numbers on a document. The container clears customs in 40 minutes. 3 days later, an envelope arrives. Your name on the front, 50,000 rupees inside. You stare at the money for a long time. Then you text Hyder. The education. You spend the next 6 months learning things no university teaches, and user certificates. The piece of paper that says a buyer is legitimate. Governments require them before approving arms exports. A certificate from a real country, a real ministry, even a corrupt one, is worth more than the weapons themselves. You learn which countries are transit points. Serbia, Moldova, Kazakhstan. Places with ports and paperwork and officials who move slowly on purpose. You learn the language. Agricultural equipment means small arms. Mining accessories means ammunition. Hydraulic components means whatever the client needs them to mean that week. You are 26 years old. You have never held a gun. You are already in the arms trade. The broker. By year 2, Hyder is just the introduction. You are the operation. A buyer in West Africa needs 700 AK pattern rifles. Not new, surplus. Eastern European military stock from the 90s, sitting in warehouses in Bulgaria and Romania, looking for a customer. You connect them. You find the seller through a contact in Vienna, a retired logistics man who drinks expensive wine and never speaks on phones. You meet him twice, both times in hotel lobbies, both times by accident. The rifles move through a freight company in Dubai. The end user certificate says they're going to a private security firm in Nairobi. The rifles do pass through Nairobi for 48 hours. Then they continue. Your cut is $42,000, wired to an account in Cyprus in 3 separate transfers, all under the reporting threshold, all labeled as consulting fees. You don't ask who ends up with the rifles. That is rule 1. You never ask what happens at the destination. The upgrade, year 3. You stop dealing in surplus rifles. Surplus is messy. Paper trails that trace back to governments, serial numbers that investigators can follow. You move up. You find a manufacturer in Eastern Europe, a small company, privately held, that produces military-grade hardware technically for law enforcement markets. They have licenses. They have clean paperwork. They also have a flexible interpretation of who counts as law enforcement. You become their regional distributor. On paper, in reality, you are moving shipment of 1,200 pistols to a client in the Gulf who does not want his government to know he has them. You are moving 47 anti-material rifles to a buyer in Central Asia who paid in cryptocurrency split across 9 wallets. You know what anti-material rifles do. You studied their specifications carefully. Range of 2,000 meters. They can penetrate light armored vehicles. They can hit a target the size of a man from a distance. So far, the target never hears a shot. You tell yourself this knowledge is just professional. You buy a house in Dubai. You open a consultancy firm. You get a business card printed. It says Defense and Security Advisory. The irony doesn't hit you until much later. The client, you don't forget, year 4. A new client comes through a contact in Ankara. He wants man-pads, man-portable air defense systems, shoulder-fired missiles that can bring down aircraft. You have moved rifles, pistols, ammunition, spare parts. But this is different. This is a category that flags every intelligence agency in the world simultaneously. This is the kind of equipment that disappears into conflict zones and surfaces years later, pointed at commercial airliners. You say no. He offers 3 times the market rate. You say no again. He goes quiet for 2 weeks. Then he comes back with a different request. Encrypted communications equipment, night vision optics, body armor, things that kill no one directly but help people who kill others do it more efficiently. You say yes. That night you lie in your apartment and stare at the ceiling and think about what you just agreed to. You tell yourself body armor is defensive. You tell yourself night vision is neutral technology. You tell yourself the line you didn't cross tonight matters. By morning, you almost believe it. The paper fortress. By year 5, the operation is elegant. 3 shell companies in 3 jurisdictions. A freight forwarder in the UAE who asks no questions because he is paid not to. A shipping broker in Cyprus who has been in this business for 30 years and has the patience of someone who knows governments change, but cargo routes do not. Every shipment has perfect documentation. Every end-user certificate is technically real, issued by ministries whose officials received consulting contracts from companies you control. Interpol has a unit dedicated to arms trafficking. UN panels monitor embargoes. The US State Department has export control investigators. The EU has its own system. You are not afraid of them. You are afraid of one thing only: someone in your own chain deciding your name is worth more than your payment. So you pay well, always on time, always slightly more than expected. Fear is cheap. Loyalty costs more. You buy loyalty the day the numbers become real. Year 6. A journalist publishes a report. She has been investigating a conflict in the Sahel region. Militia activity, villages burned, civilians displaced. She has photographs of the weapons, serial numbers partially visible. She has traced 2 shipments. One of them is yours. You recognize the transaction immediately, 18 months ago. Encrypted rifles, scopes, communications gear. The end user certificate said a private security contractor in Djibouti. You didn't ask who their client was. Now you know. The militia in the photographs has a name. You looked them up. Human rights reports going back 4 years. Villages, mass graves. You close the laptop, you go to the bathroom and run cold water over your face and stare at yourself in the mirror. You have been in this business 6 years. You have moved weapons worth over $40 million. You have told yourself constantly, consistently, with great conviction, that you are a logistics professional, a paper man, a fixer of documents, and arranger of routes. But logistics requires a destination. And now you know yours. The heat, 3 months after the journalist's report, your contact in Vienna stops returning calls. A shell company in Cyprus gets flagged in a UN panel report, not named, referenced obliquely, but you know which transactions they mean. Your freight forwarder in Dubai calls you from a different number. Someone came asking. Europeans. Suits. They had photographs. Your stomach drops. Not your heart. Your stomach. A cold, sinking weight that doesn't move for the rest of the day. You know what this means. You have watched it happen to other people in this business. The investigation starts at the edges. Freight companies, banks, low-level contacts who make deals for cash. It moves inward, slowly, methodically, like water finding a crack in a wall. You have been careful, but careful only delays the water. It doesn't stop it. You liquidate. Cyprus account, moved to Singapore in 48 hours. Dubai property, listed quietly through an agent. The freight forwarder gets a final payment and an instruction. You never work together. You get on the plane to Belgrade, then Tbilisi, then Istanbul. You are moving because stillness makes you visible. That is what you tell yourself. The truth is simpler. You are scared for the first time in 6 years. And fear, when it finally arrives in this business, arrives all at once. Like a door you didn't know was there, suddenly opening into nothing. What you have? You are 33 years old. You have approximately $2.4 million in accounts no one knows about. You have a passport under a different name that cost you $8,000 and has never failed a border crossing. You have a phone with 1 contact saved, a lawyer in Geneva who handles situations like yours. You have never called him. You keep his number the way people keep emergency medication they hope to never use. You have no family who knows where you are. You have no one who can be used against you, which was a choice you made in year 2. Quietly, without ceremony, you reduced your life to assets and exits. You removed everything that could be leverage. You told yourself that was discipline. Now, alone in a rented apartment, in a city where you don't speak the language, you understand what it actually was. It was loneliness dressed up as strategy. What you don't have a way out that ends cleanly. The weapons you moved don't disappear because you stopped moving them. They are in the world. They are in the hands of people whose decisions you will never know. Somewhere, right now, something you arranged the paperwork for is in a place it should not be. You can't uninvent that. You can stop, you have stopped. But stopping is not the same as undoing. Some nights you calculate 40 million in weapons over 6 years. At average conflict mortality ratios, at average casualty rates from the types of weapons you moved, you have done the math. You did it once, at 3 a.m. in a hotel in Tbilisi. You have never done it again. You are a ghost now. Clean passport, offshore money, no fixed address. The arms trade doesn't miss you. Someone else filled your contacts within a week. The routes continue. The paperwork continues. The containers move. You were never the operation. You were just a person who understood that weapons don't need smugglers. They need paperwork. They need a man who can look at a customs form and know which 4 numbers to change. That man exists in every port city in the world. You were just one of them. The guns were never the product. The product was plausible deniability, and you were very, very good at making it. You didn't pull a trigger. You just made sure someone else could. That's the thing about the arms trade. The blood never gets on your hands. It gets on the documents you signed. And documents don't wash clean.